What's up YouTube, Jeff back again from DopeTechDaily.com. Today I'm bringing you guys my 6-month review of using the Huawei Mate 10 Pro. Now I've been covering a lot of Galaxy S9, S9 Plus stuff, so I figured I'd give you guys a nice break and talk about this a little bit, mainly because Huawei has been in the news lately, especially the Mate 10 Pro, with Best Buy deciding to stop selling the phone. So I wanted to give you guys some thoughts on whether or not I still think this phone is worth purchasing. So first of all, a huge shout out to my friends at Huawei USA who sent the phone out to me to use for this review period of a couple weeks. I actually had a Mate 10 Pro around launch time, and then also a Mate 10, which I actually ended up keeping the Mate 10. I just had so many phones I couldn't review them. So anyway, they've sent me out the phone and I was able to use it for the past couple weeks, and I'll show you guys some of the things that I really like about the phone. So the first thing is the design of this phone. And the design of the Huawei Mate 10 Pro is very impressive. If you've ever seen any of the high-end flagships with glass backs and sort of a nice, curved sides, you've got the nice 2D glass on the sides. It feels very nice in the hand and it's very easy to hold. It also has a little bit of a slipperiness to it, but it definitely feels like a premium device. Now this is the gray color. There's also a blue color of the phone that they sell in the US. The phone is sold for $699, I believe, and you were able to get it for $649 a couple of places in the last few weeks as well. So you do have the all sort of minimal bezel front, which we've seen the trend going towards 18:9 aspect ratio with the FHD Plus resolution. It's a very nice AMOLED panel, very, very good looking color and black levels on the panel. If you compare it to something like the Galaxy S9 or the S9 Plus, you're not actually going to notice a huge difference in the vibrancy. The Galaxy S9 and the S9 Plus has a great panel as well, but the Huawei Mate 10 Pro is one of the few panels that can compare in terms of the black levels and the vibrancy of the colors. I've definitely been impressed. Also, the brightness of this panel here in Arizona using the phone in the daytime, I've had absolutely no issues whatsoever using the phone and seeing it outdoors. One of the things I don't like about the Mate 10 Pro design is they did get rid of the 3.5mm headphone jack. You'll notice you've got USB Type-C with fast charging, speaker grill on the bottom, and then up here you'll notice, again, no 3.5mm headphone jack, which is a little disappointing. But one thing you do get that you won't see on many other phones in the US is this guy right here, which is an IR blaster. That's definitely something nice to see. Very few phone manufacturers are keeping the IR blaster these days. Your SIM tray over here, and then on the back, of course, you've got the fingerprint sensor, some Huawei branding, and you've got the Leica dual cameras on the back, and these are very impressive. I'll talk more about those in a second. Now the fingerprint sensor, I really like the location of this one. It's very similar to the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL. It's very fast and responsive. One thing I will say is that in terms of pros and cons, I'm going to do a full comparison to the Galaxy S9 and the S9 Plus. I think the Galaxy S9 and the S9 Plus, the fingerprint sensor is just too low, even though it's centered. I really like the location on the Huawei Mate 10 Pro a little better, and it's actually felt nicer using that this week in comparison to the Galaxy S9. So the hardware and the design, overall very beautiful aside from the lack of the 3.5mm headphone jack. The software, I will say I'm not the hugest fan of Huawei software. I never have been in terms of the launcher. So I always throw Action Launcher on there, and that's what I'm running right now. I'm running Action Launcher with the adaptive pack from Chris Lacey. If you guys want to check it out, I'll link it below. Otherwise, the software has gotten a lot better over time. The notification shade now with the black on blue actually looks really nice. I like that dark theme in the notification shade. The settings now are much more toned down, organized. There's still a whole lot of stuff that you should go in and take a look at. For instance, a lot of the battery saving modes and things like that. Some of the things they do to save battery from the jump still is not my favorite decisions because they limit some of your usage of the phone. But it does get great battery life, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But there's still some battery choices out of the box I'm not a huge fan of. They also have the battery percentage turned off by default, so you can turn that on if you want and have it in the icon or also next to the battery icon. There's a lot of really cool features in here, though, that you won't get on other flagships. One of my favorite features that you won't see on other flagships is the private space feature. Private space allows you to log into a whole entire separate account on your phone where you can store private information. For instance, if you share the phone with someone or if you had other nefarious purposes, hopefully not. Anyway, the way it works is you set up two separate fingerprints. So my index finger is my main account. So I go ahead and unlock the phone with that index finger. And then if I want to get into my private account, I use my middle finger here and I go to log in, and then it also requires here a pattern, and then you'll see right here, it'll say user switched. So I don't really have anything different in my private account at this point, mainly because I don't really have a big need for a private account. I'm married, I trust my wife, I don't care if she looks in my phone. But if you have an issue where you do care, you can set that up and then have a whole separate sort of phone, apps, history, and files saved in that private space on your Huawei Mate 10 Pro. So the software features that Huawei has started adding to the Mate 10 Pro, like private space, they also pioneered some of the things like dual apps for Facebook. A lot of these features that they've pioneered are really things that we've seen proliferate to other phones recently, and I definitely do like that. So other than the launcher and some of the notification stuff, still one of the biggest problems with the Huawei phones for me is the notifications. On the lock screen, you still can't expand your notifications fully like you can on a Pixel or even a Samsung device. They really should work on some of the notification things on the lock screen, but that's really probably my biggest complaint. So if you go to your lock screen, the notifications just aren't handled as well as I would like to see implemented. So that's software. Battery life, which I mentioned before, is fantastic on this phone. This is probably the greatest battery life I've seen since the BlackBerry Key 1, which I also just happen to have right here. This was a battery champ for me for all of 2017, and I still use this phone as my work phone. This is an awesome phone, battery life. The Huawei Mate 10 Pro actually beats the BlackBerry Key 1 in battery life. I get about 6.5 to 7 hours screen on time regularly on this. The Key 1, maybe I get about 6 hours. But this thing is just a beast, 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Not only that, but you also have fast charging built in with USB Type-C. So you're never going to have to worry about getting through a full day with this. Even if you're the heaviest user, I'm always doing social media stuff, responding to YouTube comments like a couple hundred a day, watching media, phone calls, and doing work stuff on my phone. And I still get through a full day, no problem whatsoever. So the battery life is very impressive. Performance is also very impressive. Even with running Action Launcher on top, which I just like the UI better, like I said, it's a personal decision. I've had no hiccups at all in terms of navigating around the UI, even doing multitasking, running games, doing all my work stuff daily. These apps, they open instantaneously. Sometimes you will notice that they do reload a little bit in the background if you're doing multitasking and things like that, or cold opening an app when you first start up the phone. But the performance of the Kirin 970 processor, Huawei has really squeezed a lot out of this processor, and I've been impressed with the performance of the phone in terms of smoothness. The camera, of course, is the other big thing on this phone. You've got dual cameras with the Leica-enabled branding on the back, and they are using AI technology to get the best shots. It does a really nice job in all lighting conditions. The only camera that I would put above it steadily is the Pixel 2 XL. I would say it's very close to a tie in low light between this and the Galaxy S9 Plus. It really just depends on the situation. This was taken in my garage at dusk. It's very, very close to being dark outside, and you can see the amount of light that it gets in here into the shot. Shot of my wife's car, a couple of those. One of my car as well, just sitting in the driveway a little earlier. It does great with macro shots. You can see the amazing detail and color. It works hard not to blow out the shot as well. It does a very good job of keeping the balance between the contrast and also getting the brightness in there correct. Another nice macro shot of the same flower. Just a really nice job that it does of keeping that balance, like I said. This is another dark shot facing outward, so the sun was sort of right in my eyes. Again, it does a good job of highlighting the areas that are important of the picture. I was focusing in here on the Audi logo itself. You can see it did a nice job of handling that. A couple more photos that I just took today. I have a whole bunch that I took the entire time I've had the camera, but it's a very nice camera. The front-facing shooter also is good. I think it's better than the one on the Galaxy S9 Plus. The Galaxy S9 Plus doesn't have that great of a front-facing shooter in my opinion. This one does handle selfies a little bit better using that AI smart thinking in order to do the lighting correctly when you take a selfie. So camera, battery life, design, the performance of the phone, all of that stuff is good. The only downsides I really have are the software. Again, just wish they would make it a little closer to stock. I know that's not necessarily what's going to happen because a lot of people in China really like the UI that Huawei and Xiaomi put out, and I understand that. I just wish they would give us some choices here in the West to handle some of the notifications, battery saving things with a little bit more fine tuning, or maybe just change it up a little bit when they do ship these to other countries. because I think the preferences are just a little different. They're just cultural differences, and that's not a huge deal. And then I would also like to see the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack make a return, because this phone is, I mean, it's thin, but it's not ultra thin, so there's no reason to really take out the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's really my only complaint in terms of the design. Otherwise, it's a really beautiful phone. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this 6 months later review of the Huawei Mate 10 Pro. Again, regarding the controversy here in the US, I personally don't think there's a problem with buying Huawei phones. I pre-ordered the Huawei P20 Pro, and I'm going to review that phone as well. I don't know. The government seems to want to start some sort of trade war with China, in my opinion. Until I see some evidence that Huawei is doing nefarious things with your data any more than any other company, we've obviously seen that Facebook is doing some pretty bad things. So unless Huawei is doing worse things with my data than Facebook, until I see some proof of that, I'm not going to be as concerned, and I'm going to keep using Huawei phones. And I still think this is a great buy if you really like the camera, and you really like the design, and you really like the software and the battery life. Go out and buy the phone. So anyway, if you guys are interested, I am going to do a full comparison of the Huawei Mate 10 Pro to the Galaxy S9 Plus. Stay tuned for that this weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification icon so I can make future videos like this. You guys can find me at dopetechdaily.com, Google+, Instagram, and Twitter. The links in the description. You can also find me writing over at gadgethacks.com, where I write about Android. I appreciate you guys checking it out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.